How's it going, everybody? This is Cameron White with White Light Astrology, giving you guys your weekly forecast of what the fuck is going on in the universe for January 21st through January 28th. Thank you guys so much for being here and liking and commenting and sharing and subscribing. I super appreciate every single one of you guys and absolutely love you guys to death, and I mean that. But anyway, let's start talking about this week. Before we actually go into this week, we're finally, I feel like we're almost done with the first month of 2019 and expect the rest of this year to fly by pretty fast. However, we're out of eclipse season now. I feel like the last 2 weeks, like just with it being eclipse season, there's fresh eclipse seasons too. Besides the total lunar eclipse in Leo, which is like the last of those Leo eclipses, but we had that first eclipse in Capricorn, kind of setting the tone for things. And now that we're finally out of that, I really do think that things are going to calm down this week. Things are going to be a lot less, I don't want to say frustrating, however, there's going to be a lot more room for, like a lot more breathing room this week. It's not going to feel so tight and so exhilarated. I do think that this week is going to be extreme. I don't want to say extremely. This week isn't really extreme at all. It does start off that way. However, by the end of this week, things are really going to calm down. Things are going to be a little bit more open and receptive. So I think that is just something to definitely take note of as we kind of go through this horoscope. So let's go ahead and get into it. Starting off today on January 21st on Monday, we have a lot going on. I mean, the moon's in Leo, fresh off the eclipse. It's trining Venus and Jupiter and Mars, while Venus and Jupiter are conjoining each other. We have Mercury on top of the South Node, and we have the Mars-Saturn square perfecting today. There's a lot of stuff going on this Monday, and it could feel kind of overwhelming a little bit. So as we have, we're done with the eclipse season, the moon's in Leo, we're feeling high and mighty, it's trining Venus and Jupiter, which they're conjoining each other right now, they're spreading positive messages, and this is also trining Mars, where we're feeling this energy to go and to explore and to do and to conquer and to like get all this stuff done. However, with the Saturn-Mars square, it's like, where Saturn wants to say no, I would like to create, I would not necessarily like to create, but another way to look at it is Saturn's not just saying no to Mars trying to push out all this energy. Mars in Aries has been making you feel like, you've got to conquer, you've got to do, you've got to accomplish, you've got to go, you got to sink your teeth into something. Mars in Aries is very energetic, like you just got a lot of stuff to do or you have a lot of energy to do. It's really good for, working out and just being extremely physical. However, Saturn squaring it is kind of, like I said, I don't want to say no, but it's kind of like, okay, let's take this Mars and Aries energy and let's concentrate it. Let's be efficient and effective with it. How can we not do these huge outbursts of energy and then crash by the time we get into nighttime? How do we consistently be more effective and have more of that energy? It's kind of like, instead of just going balls to the wall for an hour or 2 hours a day or whatever it is for you, and then all of a sudden you can't have the energy anymore. Mars and Aries is like, let's keep the consistency and the motion of putting your energy in there, putting that, almost like that physical assertion there too. And so even though Mars is trining the moon, Mars is trining Venus and Jupiter as they're, conjoining right now, there's a lot of positive energy going on with like, hey, how are we feeling? What do we believe in? What do we want to explore in? How do we want to feel about this stuff? And what are we actually doing to go and get it? There's a lot of positive messages there. But as Saturn squares Mars, it's kind of like you could feel like there's walls or barriers kind of holding you back in from all the territory you want to explore. Now, also on Monday, we have Mercury conjoining the South Node, which is kind of funky because the South Node's now in Capricorn. I mean, we have Saturn there, Pluto there. The Sun just now went into Aquarius. However, Mercury's still in Capricorn too. And with the South Node being right there, where we're talking about our past, we're talking about what we need to release, what we need to let go of, but it's also helpful to look back at and to really review what we've learned, review what we've been through, review what we're naturally good at, like what experiences do we have? Our South Node is almost similar to like a resume. It's kind of like, this is what I've done, this is what I've been through. I don't necessarily want to do this anymore, but that energy is still there. And as Mercury's going over that, Mercury's about communicating messages. Mercury's about, saying stuff. Mercury wants to have you think about things. Mercury wants to get your mind wrapped into something. And as it's over the South Node in Capricorn, this is really looking back at like, this doesn't work anymore, and I need to understand that. This isn't what's working for me, this isn't what's supporting me, this isn't the structure to really put things in, and it's not necessarily about going, oh, this is where I want to go, this is the direction I want to take things in. This is more about going, this doesn't work anymore. This structure is definitely not working. Like Mercury over the South Node in Capricorn is like, okay, the code enforcer comes to your house and is like, yep, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, it's time to change. And as Mercury goes over the South Node, this is going to be a big time to learn, like, hey, What did you do in the past that really helped you? What can you understand? What can you really utilize that has worked for you in the past to bring that now that really supports you? So I think that is going to be a big deal as we go into Monday, and I'd like to address it again. Monday's probably the biggest day that we have this week because there is a lot going on. However, as we get into Tuesday, January the 22nd, we have Venus and Jupiter still conjoining. They go both into 16 degrees of Sagittarius, and we have the moon moving towards the last degrees of Leo, making a trine to Uranus. And as Venus and Jupiter are still conjoining each other, and the moon's in Leo trining Uranus, this is when, and also the Mars-Saturn square is going to be leaving. Mars is finally leaving Saturn square. This is kind of like, okay, I'm starting to feel a little bit, those walls starting to come down. I'm feeling a little bit more, easier to be liberated, easier to be more, I don't want to say efficient. You're feeling more of the energy of what it's like to like release and to let go, like that release point. After, you know, tension builds up for a while, you're starting to feel that release point. And I think that's a little bit of that moon trine Mars, and as well as Venus conjoining Jupiter. This isn't, I don't want to emphasis so much on, oh, you know, this is going to be blasting off into a whole new space. You're going to feel liberated and great. I think as Venus conjoins Jupiter, though, is that you're really looking at the value and the purpose and the spiritual benefits, the religious benefits, just the benefits in general of valuing learning, of valuing discovery and growth and moving forward into something. This is Sagittarius where we're talking about, where it's like we want to understand, we want to seek, we want to look at things, we want to see everything, we want to keep exploring and discovering and have that sense of adventure and be able to roll with the changes. You know, Sagittarius is the centaur with the bow and arrow. It's got a very specific aim and it's going with it. And as Venus is here where we're talking about value, we're talking about what we love, we're talking about this is making us happy, and Jupiter right here, he wants to bring you presents, he wants to basically just give you anything that you want. I think this is kind of like, and I don't take that super seriously, but that's kind of like Jupiter's MO. But as Venus and Jupiter conjoin right there, and the moon's leaving a trine to it, trining Uranus, this is going to be like, all right, like, I'm really starting to see the big picture here. I'm starting to see where I want to go. Point A is where you're at. Point B starting to look clear. You can start to see point B in the horizon. So I think that is going to be really important. Now, as we move into Wednesday, the 23rd, the moon will then go into Virgo. It's going to be opposing Neptune. It's going to be squaring Venus and Jupiter because it's in Virgo and Sagittarius. And Mercury is going to go into Aquarius. So Wednesday is kind of a shifty day. And as the moon goes into Virgo and opposes Neptune, this is seeing things clearly. This is being able to like tangibly understand emotions and where you're at with things. It's like moon in Virgo is very clear, very concise. And as it's opposing Neptune, it's kind of like trying to oversee the shadow that can kind of like carry us on with our stuff. Like Neptune just, again, I always say this, like puts fog over everything. The moon in Virgo is like having fog lights. Like you can actually see in the fog. Now, it is squaring Venus and Jupiter, though, where the moon in Virgo is going to make you feel a little bit more, I need to focus on specifics, I need to analyze, I need to detail, you need to, I feel like there's a lot of bad energy with Virgo in the sense of what everyone says it is. It's like, oh, you know, yeah, you can get the analysis paralysis or you overthink things and stuff like that, but it's like, the moon in Virgo is looking for specificity. It's looking for, you know, specifics. It's looking for pinpoint accuracy. And so as the moon is in Virgo, it's looking for these tiny little specific things. And that's not, Venus and Jupiter don't want that. Venus and Jupiter are like, let's look at the big picture. Let's just explore and go. And the moon in Virgo is going to be like, these are the tiny little things that we need before we go. So what I'd like to suggest is on Wednesday, this is going to be a really good day to like, okay, let's take your hopes, your dreams, and your aspirations. Let's feel them in the big picture. But if we're going to be realistic about it, especially because the moon's going to be trining Saturn and trining Pluto here a little bit too, this is going to be about, okay, what steps do I need to take? What are my action plans? What is my list? How do I need to organize things? And so I think this is going to be a little bit, I don't want to say frustrating. It could be exhausting. It could be, you're going to have to change what you're doing. However, as the moon is in Virgo and it's squaring that stuff and opposing Neptune, this is just a good day to get clear about what your next step is. If you want that Venus-Jupiter stuff, wherever it's at in your chart, like this is how you need to lock it down. This is how you need to detail it. So then, oh, I didn't even talk about Mercury going into Aquarius. So, as Mercury leaves Capricorn, it's kind of hard to explain because Capricorn and Aquarius are both ruled by Saturn. So it's not like Mercury's switching a whole lot, but he is going from earth to air. He is going from, you know, the traditionals like feminine to the masculine. And what I want to make about that switch is, as Mercury's going into Aquarius, is that it has a different role. It has a different, perspective and I guess output. Where Mercury in Capricorn is more of like, I don't want to say internalized, but it's very structured. It's very more simplistic. As Mercury goes into Aquarius, this is where it's more of opening up to different ideas. Aquarius, you know, if you've heard, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you are Aquariuses, but it's like if you look more into it, they always talk about, it's about detachment, it's about release. You know, you deal with isolation and alienation with Aquarius stuff. And as Mercury goes into Aquarius, you may feel dealing with that, like, you know, looking at different ideas, seeing things in a different way. But the idea of the whole isolation and alienation is to take a step back and look at all of the perspectives and connect them together to make a valid point, to kind of give that third person view or that bird's eye perspective on things. So as Mercury goes into Aquarius, this is where things aren't going to be as mundane and simple as they were in Capricorn, but they're going to begin to open up. You're going to be able to see new ideas and really be able to expand more of that mind in a very Saturnian way of like seriousness, of discipline, of like, you know, getting it together. So then as we go into Thursday, the only thing that we really got going on Thursday is Mars is trining Jupiter exactly. So as Mars is in Aries, you know, we're wanting to go, we're wanting to do, this is trining Jupiter. This is really good. You may feel very energetic, like you've got all of the energy you need today to go on that adventure, to seek out that, you know, that definition, that point that you want to get to. And as Mars trines Jupiter, I feel like this is going to be a really good day to kind of like, you know, go about things, handle business. If you want to, if you're trying to expand or explore on any part of your life, this is going to be a great day to put the energy into it. However, that's really the only thing that's going on. After that, on Friday, on the 25th, we have Mars still continuing to trine Jupiter. We have the moon going into Libra, where it's going to oppose Mars, and it is going to square Saturn. And then Venus also kind of starts to make her trine with Uranus too. And so as we go into Friday, you know, moon's going to go into Libra. It's going to be squaring Saturn, opposing Mars. This is where it's kind of like, okay, if I really want to do this, how do I it's kind of like what we talked about earlier. Mars in Aries just wants to do. Saturn's like, let's be efficient and effective about it. The moon in Libra is weighing out the options. What did the moon in Virgo help you get clear and kind of like write down on a list? The moon in Libra is kind of like, what's worth this energy and what's not worth this energy? Where can I really consolidate? Where can I really level things out as far as value goes? And this is going to be really important as we're kind of like dealing with this Mars energy right now. And also, well, that's really the only thing on Friday. Mars trines Jupiter. Venus begins her trine to Uranus, where I don't want to emphasize on this too much until Venus does trine Uranus. However, Venus is in Sagittarius. She's kind of having a fun time exploring, and Uranus is in Aries, kind of like, I'm liking this. I want to have, you know, I need to do things I need to accomplish. Uranus in Aries is like, I have all this sudden burst of energy to change this, and I need to understand myself and my identity and what my purpose is and what I can do. So it's trining Venus in Sagittarius. It's kind of like that idea of you exploring what is possible, exploring what is out there, is giving you that sense of liberation. But Venus is just starting to trine Uranus, and that's going to be later on going into, I think next week is when that's going to be exact. However, as we go into Saturday on the 26th, the moon's going to be opposing Uranus, where this is kind of like, hey, you know, the moon in Libra wants to delegate. It wants to consolidate. It wants to level things out in a way to where it's easier to maintain consistency. As the moon opposes Uranus, where Uranus is like, hey, let's just not do that and do this instead because I feel like it. The moon in Libra is going to kind of like have a little bit of tension of which side to choose and what to put your all into. So you may feel a little bit like left and right on that day, but it's not necessarily the day like, oh, I'm choosing this right now. Let the moon go over, you know, Libra, let it oppose Uranus. Wait till the moon goes in Scorpio to really feel dedicated and to really feel like, okay, I'm choosing this. This makes more sense and this is what I'm dedicated to at the moment. However, that's Saturday, the 26th. Not a lot's happening. Then we go into Sunday. Only thing that's really happening is the moon goes into Scorpio. So on Sunday the 27th, as the moon goes into Scorpio, that's where it's like, okay, I'm ready. This is what I'm choosing into. This is what I'm focused on. This is what I want to commit to, is a good way to put it. This is what I want to pursue. This is where my target is, and this is my aim, and I'm locked in on it. And then as we go into Monday, by the time I'm doing this video again on the 28th, the moon's going to trine Neptune, and it's going to sextile Saturn, where moon's trining Neptune, where it's understanding something bigger about this vision. It's seeing something bigger about this, and it's experiencing something bigger about it. And as it sextiles Saturn, where Saturn's giving you that support of like, this is what commitment looks like. You want to be focused. You want to be dedicated. You want to see things in that specific vision. And that's kind of the week. By the time we threw my binder down already. By the time we get to next week, Mercury's going to conjoin the sun and go Kazemi at that, what is it, like 9 degrees Aquarius where Mars retrograded. And then Venus goes into Capricorn next week, and we'll be mostly hitting on that. But that's this week. We start off really intense. We start off pretty raw and real, but like I said, as we kind of continue on to the week, things get really clear. Things kind of open up a little bit more. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching and liking and sharing and subscribing again. Love every single one of you. Sending you guys a ton of positive energy, and I'll be seeing you. Oh, I also forgot to say, my monthly horoscopes will be up tomorrow night. So if you guys want to check out what February is all going to be about, those will be up tomorrow night on YouTube. Make sure you watch those. But other than that, I'll be seeing you guys either tomorrow or next week.